Ted Cruz has this podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, where he talks with Michael Knowles, who's just kind of this right-wing commentator on YouTube and stuff. And he addressed the topic, Ted Cruz that is, of Liz Cheney. And someone he said he has known for a long time and who in his mind used to be conservative and now she's not. And I want to show you this because to me, it reveals how the only thing that matters in being a quote unquote real Republican in the minds of people who still support Trump or his election lies is just that. Will you lie about the election? If you won't, you're not a conservative. Now, in my mind, why you would want so bad to be considered a conservative doesn't make sense. Of course, y'all know that. But for someone who actually is conservative like Liz Cheney, that would be important to them. And so many of these people running in these races, don't actually believe the election was stolen, but also know they have to say that to have any chance of getting elected because that's the litmus test right now of pro-Trump Republicans. So Ted Cruz kind of strikes on that note in this comment towards Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney, I've known Liz a long time. I've known her 20 plus years. There are some people who Donald Trump just broke. They hate Trump so much that their mind went on fritz. And I got to say, Liz is unrecognizable. She has become a left-wing Democrat now. And
that's hilarious. That is hilarious. A left-wing Democrat. And this, again, I want to play more of this. So, but I also want to talk about what I want to talk about. Okay, let's go ahead and play this, and then I'll say what I want to say.
Like 10 years ago, the idea that Liz Cheney was a left-wing Democrat would have been ludicrous. Obviously, her dad was Dick Cheney. He was a conservative Republican. She was, look, they're both too neocon-y for me. They're both too eager to get us involved in foreign wars. But that being said, on taxes, on social issues, on most issues, Liz Cheney was a down-the-road conservative Republican. And by the way, that's where Wyoming is. And then Trump came into power, and her mind just shattered. And she, what's amazing is that she's become, it's not even just that she says, okay, I don't like Donald Trump. Like, I don't like what he says. I don't like how he acts. I understand someone who says that. I don't like everything he says and does. I like the policies we enacted together. I worked closely with him on that. But she doesn't limit it to that. It's like Bill Kristol is someone else like Liz Cheney, who has just become a liberal Democrat.
Okay, so he just repeats that. The funny thing is he doesn't cite a policy that she's flipped on, and that gets to the crux of the point that I could barely keep myself from making mid-clip, and that is that they don't care about policy. He pretends like he does. If you actually understood or cared about policy, you would understand that Liz Cheney is still pretty much the same as you on policy. The big difference, and I think this matters, I don't think this is not important or significant, but it's not necessarily a policy so much as a stance on democracy and a stance on not being a complete overt liar about the results of the 2020 election. That's it. As people point out all the time, she voted upwards of 90% with Trump's agenda while he was president. So Ted Cruz pretending like the second Trump came into power, she had her brain break and all of a sudden was a liberal Democrat is insane. And to say that just her claiming correctly that Biden won the election and recognizing reality in that case makes her a left-wing Democrat, all you're saying is that all it takes to be a left-wing Democrat is to tell the truth about the results of an election. It's crazy. The moment we're in is insane because in any other sane world, Liz Cheney would just be another old, boring, conservative Republican. That would be it because all conservative Republicans would go, we wanted Trump, but Biden won, so whatever. But because it became the party line pretty much, at least the Trumpster party, to say the election was stolen, now that's a huge thing that Liz Cheney separates herself from the rest of them with. And so it really shows this change in the Republican Party's character. And I think it's just completely absurd that you would believe Liz Cheney changed a lot. All she did was not lie about the 2020 election. That's it. And that's what they're so upset by. the only thing that I think is even partially true-ish, or I guess he just reminded me of this within what he said, was that sometimes the deep, deep danger of Trump does kind of flick a switch in Republicans who otherwise would be on board with some pretty dishonest stuff. So an example of this is I don't think Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger would call out all of the examples of the Republican Party being dishonest and Trump being dishonest, not all, but so many more, if it wasn't for the 2020 stuff. Does that make sense? Like, January 6th in 2020 made them go, so aggressively that now they were free to call out other instances of dishonesty, of danger and stuff like that. And so even Adam Kinzinger admitted that he regrets not voting to impeach Trump the first time. And I know he made a political choice there and said, listen, I'm not going to vote to impeach the president of my party, even though it looks like he did some pretty bad stuff. Now he feels free to say that he actually thinks he should have been impeached that first time, because of the deep rejection he had to go through to speak out against Trump. So now he's kind of independent from that political burden that he had previously. So that's the only thing of value I really derived from that, is that sometimes I guess you could call it their brain breaks, but really it gets fixed a little bit and they're able to start calling out more instances post something that's so egregious like the 2020 election lies.